Sorry, I added you. Oh, Jamie by accident. Sorry, Jamie. But hi, nice to see you, Jamie. Let me try to add. There you are. You came in. Okay, there he is. Okay. There's our magician. Welcome, Robert.
Hi.
Okay. Hi. Okay, so this is our, as promised, our full moon lunar eclipse reunion to talk about this very intense. I was saying it's the I think it's bringing up things. Eclipses often bring things that are hidden to the light, but this is also, I feel like, bringing a lot of fears from under the surface and a lot of things under the unconscious waters coming up to the surface for us to really look at. Whether we want to talk about it being in Pisces and Western or it's in Aquarius in Vedic. But even in Vedic, the star that it's in, Shadabisha, which is the 100 healers, um, has a lot, it has so much to do with the waters. It's the one of the deities is called Varuna, who is basically Lord of the waters. So but it's about the invisible waters, which is kind of interesting. So a lot of things that had been hidden or concealed or, in our unconscious or in the collective unconscious, I think is really coming to light. And I know Robert and I were just texting a little bit back and forth, and you had mentioned how you really feel this eclipse is a wake-up call for humanity too, like a big kind of a spiritual awakening, which I also think with the Uranian influence and Mars squaring Saturn, there's a lot to talk about. And I do have the chart, which we can pull up here in a sec too, to look at together as a screenshot. Get that ready. Well, do you want to talk about
Should
some of
we,
your insights?
I gave the link up for this to some of my clients, and did they make it? Any of them make it? Can you tell?
Um, Russell, I think, is someone from your side.
So I'm
And
wondering, we should there may be more to show up and they may have trouble getting on like I did at first too. So, but I
they
thought we
won't have
should say who
trouble.
we are. Like you should, like last time we
Oh,
didn't,
yeah, sure. Like an
it's
introduction.
kind of,
Sorry, I
it,
didn't know you were bringing your people because I was bringing my inner circle, and that's cute. Okay, so now it's good. We have like a mix of, we have like we have like a Aquarian mix. Yes,
and we're
let's
going to
definitely.
put it on YouTube maybe later. So maybe we should say just a little bit, because you have so many credentials and things you've done that we never talk about. You're very,
Oh,
very
well, thank
nice
you.
and
Yeah.
humble about it. But
Oh,
you have a
thank you.
book out. You have a book out on Saturn. Do you have only one book? The book's on Saturn, like making it surviving your Saturn
I
return.
have a few books. I actually have a few astrology books and probably should. I actually could have about 60 astrology books if I would have all of my pre-project 40s printed. But my published books are yeah, my first one was Surviving Saturn's Return, Overcoming the Most Tumultuous Time of Your Life. It's out of print now, unfortunately, but I think you can still sometimes snag a copy on Amazon.
What was the
Then
title of that?
sorry, Surviving Saturn's Return.
No, the next one.
Oh, the next one is Dog Stars, which
Dog
was
stuff.
about your dog's astrological personality. Then I
Yeah, it
have
could be somebody you know that's like a dog too, though. It could be applied. It could be applied. Metaphysically, there's everything's possible.
absolutely. It's a really funny book. It was really cute, and it's got beautiful photography from my friend who did dog photography. And that was also like a major publisher, which was nice back in the day. And then there was also Fate of Your Date by what's that? I'm so bad at plugging myself. I don't even remember my publishers. It's actually a very noteworthy publisher that I forgot
Well,
the
just
name of.
say this. Maybe you could state your name and
Try
spell
to
it
make
from the
myself
book
legitimate.
so that
Anyway, yeah.
people
So
could find you that way.
I'm Shireen Shostak as the author, my old identity, and then I moved to India, and then I took on my spiritual name, which is Shireen Vismaya. But you could also look me up for my author names before I moved to India and took on my spiritual name as my last name. I was Shireen Shostak, and on Facebook they forced me to become Shireen Shostak again. Not that I have anything against my birth name, last name, surname, or whatever it's called, but I
There's
go by
taxes and all that. And
right. I go by Shireen Vismaya now for my website, and where you would find most of the things I've done basically since 2012, it's going to be under Shireen Vismaya. And then, but my books before that are Shireen Shostak. So, and the other book is I have a book also that I did with the New School for Social Research called Speculation Now. And then there's, which is interesting about synchronicity. I just did a chapter in that book, and then I did a chapter in a book called What was the other one? Um, Transpersonal psychology with Eric Myers. So I think those are all my published.
And you have like degrees in psychology and stuff like that. I mean, you have there's like 20 things or something, but you have you've
Yes,
studied
I
Jungian
did study
you've
forever during
studied
my
Jungian
Mercury
psychology.
Mahadasha. Yeah, I did. I have a master's from NYU in clinical psychology. I have a master's from Pace University in developmental psychology, and I have a master's in psychoanalysis. Back then it was called, yeah, psychoanalytic studies from the New School for Social Research. And then that was supposed to become my PhD, but then 9/11 happened. And then I went to Switzerland and did my Jungian
Hmm.
training with ISAP. So
So
that's
so
my
and
story.
also you're like still human. That's amazing. You're still a
And
human
now
being.
I don't really put a lot of, I mean, I'm grateful for all of that, but now I feel most of what I have to offer is more coming from the heart and from my
And it's somehow
experiential life of
spiritual.
living with a goddess Kali, I think is better than anything anyone gave me on paper, but it's good to at least
And you live
say I
in
have
India a lot. And
background
I
psychology.
originally wanted to go to India and
Yeah, I
Tibet
live
and
in
seek my guru. And then I sold my motorcycle and my car and my record collection and everything. And then I was bragging that I had all the money in the world in my pockets and that I was going to go to India after I tried to find caves and tunnels in South America that would bring me to Tibet. I was so insane when I was young in a beautiful way, but very naive, idealistic. And then I was beat up and robbed and lost all my money. And I had a meditation beforehand where a voice came to me and said, tomorrow the master, the spiritual teacher is going to come and see you. And the next day I got beat up and robbed. And so people thought, oh my God, what should we do? And I said, the master's coming beat me up, the message isn't always polite, and sweet. So I had a really rude awakening that was different than Ram Dass, you might say. And so I went to Western Hermetics and was in mad search of how you could be out of your body and see your body on the ground and an angel standing next to you. And when this event took place, and that led me to Theosophy, uh, discovering a book by Blavatsky in Golden Light at a bookstore, and it led me to Theosophy. And so I studied Theosophy, and I left the university to open a bookstore, bragging that for years that I would get through school without reading. And then I own a bookstore, and I've read more than anybody I know in studying. And to make it very short, I'm steeped in esoteric schools and outer social activities of anthroposophy and Rudolf Steiner and H.P. Blavatsky, Theosophy. And I met the Dalai Lama and Chogyam Trungpa and Kalu Rinpoche, all these lamas. And so I hung out with Tibetan lamas because I'd been hanging out with Swami Satchidananda and 10 other yogis and masters or spiritual teachers from India. They all came to me, so my joke used to be that India came to me. So it's kind of cool that we're together because you actually did what I wanted to do. And I was going to and then I went the other way where I met the Dalai Lama here and he came to me, and he thought he knew me. So we hung out a lot and he helped me to not be afraid to hang out with Chogyam Trungpa and other lamas who I always felt were clairvoyant. Like when you're with certain spiritual people at certain times, as you know, you feel effaced or selfless. Like in their presence, a light shines that allows you to have keen insight into yourself and the whole world and the future and destiny of the planet and where we all came from and where we're all going. You have all that when you're in the presence of the spiritual teachers, and you actually can't remember what you were going to ask them even because your logical mind leaves, and you have to function from the heart, like all these feminine gurus and spiritual. I hate to use these words because they're so put down. Anything you do spiritually now is put down. But guru means a process of moving from unenlightened to enlightened or dark to light, and from lead to gold, you might say. So I don't want to get lost in the metaphors of alchemy or theosophy or Osho or Buddhism
Well,
or
yeah.
Neoplatonism and Hermetics. And that puts me, if you want to know who I am, I'm a combination of all those things. And then I'm an astrologer who used to be on radio shows across America and TV shows, which you knew me back then, I think, a little bit. And and I'd make predictions, and a lot of them would be interestingly come true. And I used to predict earthquakes to the Detroit Free Press. I think I got to 18 earthquakes, and where a lot of times they would happen. And then so
That's so
I did a
crazy that
19th
you predicted
earthquake.
earthquakes. That's
I'll
so
stop in a
crazy.
second. I did a 19th earthquake and I told them,
Yeah.
well, I did another earthquake and they weren't going to publish me like they usually do. They said, well, that's what you do. You predict stuff. Can you do
Yeah.
something new? And so the phenomena of astrology of predicting, nobody's ever satisfied unless they have that missing ingredient. If you live in your head, you're missing your heart. If you live in your belly and food and exercise and sexuality, love, lust, then you lose your head. And we really want a headlight and a breath of a holy life in the heart and lung. And we want an action hero, the thinking, feeling, and willing. And this goes back into Rudolf Steiner and Theosophy and Tibetan Buddhism as initiation is the higher trinity of Buddha, Dharma, Sangha, Father, Son, Holy Ghost, Father, Mind, Holy Mother, Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, all these trinities of universal truth, well, universal mind and love and truth, transforming our head, heart, and our actions. And this
Right.
virtuous activity and purification which is at the heart of what you and I do, actually, although we have lots of words for it. Alchemy is a very popular one now. And and um and so this is what at the heart of this purification, it's some kind of illumination and clarity that comes from a selfless willingness to understand what's going on to all of us, including ourselves. And then some kind of communion with a higher purpose, the communion with your spiritual teacher, who are the spiritual mothers and fathers of our soul. Sometimes you can find a book and your angel speaks through it. So that's my long-winded PhD.
Yeah, take a breath. I promise I was gonna pause you out of love, just so we keep a conversation going. But just to say, I wanted to just add that you said what I'm doing what you wanted to do, and I think if I had my alternate life, I would own a bookshop with all your books. So there we have it. That to me seems like my
David
other fan.
Spangler told me that same thing. David Spangler from Finhorn Gardens.
Yeah,
He told me that
I'm
same thing.
really happy.
And so did Matthew Fox. Matthew Fox.
Are you in the bookshop right now?
No, I'm
Are you,
at my books. I'm in my living room,
because
which
it looks
if
like your
we
bookshop too. Okay. So you have
well, I have a lot of books.
a
Um,
lot of books everywhere.
but at home, I collect books that are meaningful. I never worry about whether they're pricey or not. Most of the books that are meaningful are reasonable price. And
Well,
some
your
people
books
sell
are the
for rare books
Mayflower,
that are really
right?
expensive and out of print, but you can,
You're,
yeah,
you have affordable stuff there too. Anyway, okay, we're getting off on tangents, but because
yeah.
we only have an hour, so let's stay focused on the eclipse, which is what people are
Well,
here
you
for.
wanted to, yeah, the eclipse
Enough
is
about us.
like,
I think they got us. We have some credibility, right? Talk about this. But anyway, we're here to serve. So we wanted to help
so,
you
so
understand
the, the jump into the eclipse is at, I think, around 4 degrees
it.
Pisces.
Yeah.
And
That's
the sun is at 4 degrees Virgo and the moon is opposing it. Now, the thing
right.
that makes it really incredible for you who are listening, who are aspiring a
Mhm.
celestial, looking for a celestial guide, Uranus is midpointing the sun opposing the moon. At full moon, the sun opposes the moon. The sun sets and the moon rises. The moon sets and the sun rises. And Uranus is at the midpoint, so it forms a T square, they call it.
Mhm.
We just saw her heart. Okay. So Uranus
Sorry.
is at the T square,
Yeah.
and and Mercury is very close to the sun. So in the Western astrology that I kind of like a lot, we're going into a lunar eclipse where the moon blocks the sun. The sun and the moon are trying to they're opposing each other. I'm sorry that they don't block. What happens in the eclipse is that the full moon eclipse is that uh, the Earth is blocking. The Earth is the one that's doing the blocking. And the most important thing planetarily wise, I'm looking at a ephemeris calendar, but I took my notes here.
Well,
Uranus is midpointing the sun opposing moon
I
and
can see.
Mercury's with the sun. And then on the sideline, which we might want to mention, is we still have the Pluto trine Uranus sextiling Neptune, and
Yep.
um, and Mars is
Yep.
activated, hitting the ascending sign and
Yeah.
in the chart for Washington, D.C. So the Mars activation is a continual aggressiveness that comes out of Washington, or we feel this impulse to act. Or do you have it right here? Is that for Washington or somewhere else?
Oh, California, I did the California one.
Yeah, I do Washington just because they're all good wherever you are. It will tell you some secrets of where you are. But Washington is like the decision-making
Well, if you
headquarters
want to do
for
politics, we can do that. Yeah.
in the politics. So
I like this
when
one
you
though
have
because
the
of
Uranus,
Saturn rising. That's why I like this. I was like, this, I feel like this is so much fun. Saturn rising at this one. I looked at the India chart. We can look at a few of them. Yeah, too.
but we have the idea, we do have the idea of the moon in Pisces. And it's the full moon where the moon captures the sunlight. And Pisces is associated with your secret garden or where you feel imprisoned, where
Mhm.
you feel like you're hospitalized or you're ill, because the Pisces Virgo is the health
Well,
and
or not
and
only that,
Pisces is
so grim. Also, Pisces is where you have, nirvana or moksha or your most imaginative, creative, musical liberation can also
the
be like where
secret
it's
garden.
bliss.
The
Hmm.
secret garden, like the ideal dream that you have in your mother's womb before you were born, whatever planets and sign you have there, and the planets that rule that 12th house of archetypal Pisces is Pisces. I mean, depending on what else is going on in your astrology chart, which is good to have an astrology reading for that reason, or at least to understand it yourself, is that this moksha possibility, we could have inner enlightenment, but the outer enlightenment comes when it enters the rest of the field. The whole astrology chart is like the plasmic field that the planets become the chakras of incarnational possibility, or in some people's cases, excarnational or escapism, or uh, as Emerson would say, finding a transcendental higher view that could transform the split or the duality that we seem to be constantly being thrown into the game of or contesting with. So Pisces is a
Oh,
very ideal dream, but it's also the old age. We're trying to move into the Aquarian age, which is Uranus, ruled by Uranus and Saturn, which is some kind of security that goes beyond one life, some kind of responsiveness and responsibility that goes beyond one life, along with Uranus, which is the freedom, determination to be free. And freedom usually comes from a sense of higher consciousness and love and seeing a greater sense of self. I think what these spiritual books and teachings and this interaction we're trying to do is to spark and sparkle each other's uh, higher proclivity, higher life.
yeah.
So
And let's
yeah,
talk about, oh yes, speaking of which, speaking of higher life and all of this stuff in eclipses and just thinking about the, kind of the dreams, because I feel like this eclipse is bringing out a lot of very powerful dreams. And we also have this yod to the sun and Mercury in this eclipse, right? T square with Uranus, as you mentioned. Now, I can, of course, help think about all these people that have been, there's a lot of exiting often during eclipses. Usually it's more during the South Node eclipse. I was surprised more are happening. I mean, we are in between eclipses, technically, but losing Dolly Parton, that's huge. That's a
the
huge dramatic
sudden rise and fall of individuals
hitting her chart very directly, these eclipses. Hmm. Rise
and
and fall.
eclipses are where you feel you've been eclipsed. You need to eclipse the negative habits and the negative attractions and negative instinctive repulsions that don't bring like there's nothing wrong with suffering. Buddha talks about right suffering as his first teaching. And there's nothing wrong with suffering if we learn from it and we grow from it and we become free from it. In Buddhism, the Tibetan Buddhism, there's the three principles of the path, which correspond with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus being the determination to be free. They don't mention the planets, I am mentioning it, but they mention determination to be free, Uranus. Bodhisattvic compassion for all who suffer, not just a couple people that bring you pleasure and pain, but you have a compassion for everyone who suffers, so that that frees you up. Like when you're really in love with something, you're selfless. But then you can be too selfless. You have to have a self that wants enlightenment and to gift the planet with a little bettering while you're here to make good karma. So determination to be free, Uranus. Neptune is bodhisattvic resolve. If I can help others to be free and happy, it will help me too, on the basic level. And the third principle is the right view of emptiness or selflessness, or the right view of inner space that allows a certain freedom. But our inner space and quiet stillness digests our past as well as creates a space for the future. And this is one of the approaches to meditation. One of the things I've had to learn, I studied so many things that I had to learn that even if you know everything, you don't know everything. And because everybody has a unique way of finding this for themselves. So when the light outweighs the darkness, the teaching and the teacher might be with you, appearing. And sometimes a teacher can be a person that's not even that enlightened, that just has a great golden moment. We all have these moments, and we need to collect those as like our mala, the rosary, the mala, the beads on the string, every moment, every lifetime is a bead. And there's something that permeates all the beads and takes us round and round to learn about the space we're going round. And then we have to remember in America, we've quickly learned the emptiness practice, that the string and the beads, there's a hole in the bead, and there's a hole in the roof where the rain comes down. And so we need this holiness or this wholeness or this emptiness, this hole in the bead to get through things. We have to have a selfless view.
Or like space in that, like in Krishna's flute, like we have to be hollow inside so the divine can flow through us. Should we look at Dolly Parton's chart?
If you want, yeah, we can do whatever we like.
I just feel like, yeah, and we'll come back because I would like to just spend a little time on this because I know this is an impact a lot of people. I
And
feel it's,
and while she's so a great personality, do you want to throw something in or should I jump in?
and I'd like to just say a couple things first
Yeah.
because once you go, it'll be hard for me to come in.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. I wanted to hear what you think about this.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Here we
what's the
have,
attraction to she's so
yeah,
famous and popular because she's a country girl and
my friend from Star Signs. Can you guys see this chart? This is my friend Star Signs Cell. She has a chart up here. But this is annoying. Let me see if I can just get hang on. I'm gonna try. Let me stop this share. Hang on.
oh, she has Uranus midheaven, Mars conjunct Saturn.
See it okay? Okay. Yeah. But the thing that's really interesting, like you see it even more in the Vedic chart, because now she was born with the moon rising very close to her ascendant. And in Vedic, this is really interesting because she's a Magha, like the nakshatra is called Magha, or it's, her rising is very close to, is this correct? I don't, yeah, okay. I'm used to looking at her Vedic chart, sorry. Anyway, she's got moon and rising in the Magha nakshatra, and Trump has his rising also in Magha, both in Vedic, it's in Leo. She's Virgo in Western, but so it's a little different. But the thing that's interesting is that people were posting this thing like, we said Donald, not Dolly, because everyone was saying like this eclipse was going to really take Donald out, because he's also got the Leo rising where the K2 is right now. And Dolly, of course, is K2 is going over her ascendant in moon too. So everyone's like, wait, we got the wrong person. Um, so kind of funny, kind of interesting timing. But yeah, I mean, here's an example of somebody who is really like she was such a generous, bright light. And I feel like, yeah, the idea of eclipses taking, like you said, can bring people to fame or bring people back down to something more spiritual, because ultimately I feel eclipses are trying to bring the darkness to the light the same way the guru that you mentioned brings the darkness to the light. But eclipses will often do it by revealing what's dark, what's been hidden, what's been in the shadows, and what's been in secret. And this one I feel is really going to be a very future. Sorry, all these things are annoying me. I'm going to stop this screen share because of all the like pop-up things. Hang on. Okay, coming back to I can come back to our big chart here.
But she had Venus Saturn opposition. So that Venus Saturn is that because opposition, it's like the woman versus the man, or the man and her animus versus
Yeah.
there's a creative tension of love and the Uranus midheaven. The midheaven is also often associated. I'm talking about Western astrology here in the chart.
Yeah, yeah,
The
yeah.
the
No, it's
the, the Virgo, of course, is she has that Virgo there. That Virgo, she also has
yeah,
Pluto kind of midpointing the Mars moon. That whole virgin whore thing that was presented in a crude way in the Western Christian way. And you think about the ancient Greek mysteries where Artemis and Athena and the gods, they're always virgin because they have this deeper spiritual silence that's always virgin, and yet they're interacting with the world. See, so our soul interacts with the world, but our soul interacts with spirit, which is always virgin. And The Pregnant Virgin by Marion Woodman, the Jungian psychologist, um, she doesn't go into it like I just said, but she'll go on another angle of it. And Addiction to Perfection is Stone Ravished Bride by Marion Woodman. So, but when you have Moon or the Sun or Uranus, these certain higher octave planets on the midheaven, you're driven. And Uranus is associated with unusual proclivities in music and unusual rhythm. So that's happening. So that's part of what's going on. And she has a sun Venus. You'll see a lot of people who are very famous and beautiful with some kind of strong Venus aspect. And she has a
yeah,
sun
yeah.
Venus that's opposing the Mars Saturn. So the Mars Saturn are the authority guys, the old guys that run the business in music, and they love her sun Venus. And she has lasting abilities because in Capricorn, ruled by
Don't
Saturn, lasting
Yeah,
when
but
you're
don't
older
mess
in
with
life.
a Mars Saturn person. Never mess with a Mars Saturn conjunct person. Like, you know, that famous scene of her in 9 to 5 when the boss is trying to like get one over on her, that boss that's totally sexualizing her in 9 to 5, and she's like, I'll turn you from she's basically like, I can take you out in one shot, basically.
Nice.
Take,
Well,
turn you from a
then the Mars
to a
Saturn
head
is
in one
notorious.
shot.
Well, so
Yeah,
the
that's Mars.
Sun Venus is her as a goddess that has a sense of solar activity and longevity because of Capricorn, longevity because of Saturn. And the Mars Saturn are the authority figures, and she has them held off where it's a
Yep.
creative tension. Like there's nothing wrong that we have tensions with people if we could turn it into music and poetry and makes us inspired to our work. A lot of people, like in the romanticists, they have one experience of falling in love with some sparkle that's in the other person, and they spend 3 lifetimes writing poetry or doing music or trying to save. When you can't save the one person you love, you go out and save 1,000. And a lot of psychologists and healers work on that principle that they couldn't save somebody or some part of themselves, and now they're going to save the world. And the Bodhisattvic Buddha, uh, they're here to enlighten all. Please give me
Okay,
enlightenment so I can help all who suffer.
Mars, Saturn, and Cancer. I mean, she helped so many children with her school and, helping literate children. And she
Yes,
was
very
really,
good.
she was really a saint.
Yeah, and the Virgo too the Virgo feels like it wants to heal or be healed. That moon is in early Virgo, right?
Mhm.
And the
But the reason,
ascending sign of so that's that virgin, but it's also trying to find something pure in each one of us that we can work with their bad side. Yeah, I mean, put bluntly, we
well,
need to discover the higher self of each other so that we can not go crazy working with the suffering that in interactions that are rough.
yeah, and
Like
also,
if you don't, go ahead.
oh yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I also think it's really interesting that her death is like right before the eclipse in a way that everyone now, if you see social media, like everyone's posting things about her life and her. So to me, like that's the way the collective is processing the archetypes of the Virgo Pisces. They're looking at how she really embodied that. Or if we look, I mean, it's very
Yeah, the
interesting.
Virgo Pisces of the full moon is clicking right into her moon ascending
Into
sign in Virgo.
right? So it's like, yeah, it's bringing like, so she's really like, and she's leaving us, which is the South Node, right? Like the South, that's where the South Node is. So she's
That's
exiting,
good.
which
Good point.
that's
Good point.
the eclipse.
Or she's
But
releasing something. She's not just well, on one level she's leaving us, but on the other
she's
level she's like splashing all over the place. The South Node is this huge
taking a big
ecstatic
splash. Right.
release.
She's really like, because, and she's also really, amplifying or bringing up, since she had the Uranus midheaven conjunction, like she was an example of somebody who really had all those breakthroughs with her career and broke through so many molds, like whether it's like her being a sex symbol or like a floozy or whatever it is. Like she broke through all of those molds, like every single one, the sacred prostitute, whatever you want to call it, like all of that, right? All of it she
Yeah,
broke through.
Jupiter's trining her, Jupiter in her chart in Libra, the arts, and balancing things is tr in trine harmonious aspect to her North Node, and
Mhm.
comes kind of close to that. That midheaven and ascending sign move fast, so we could kind of say that her Neptune Jupiter are kind of in trine to her midheaven Uranus node. I mean, you can have wide orbs and archetypal patterns emerge, and she doesn't quite fit a perfect formula, but that's why everybody likes her. She doesn't quite fit in her clothes. And
Hmm.
yet she does, and she overspills to all of us with creativity. Uranus is doing something original and new and wanting to be free somehow or help others be
She always
free.
calls herself a weirdo. Like there's a video of her out there where she said like she was like, I'm a weirdo. I like to go hang out in cemeteries because it's very peaceful and quiet and very well kept. And like it's a place I can get really great ideas. I think about what everyone did with their life. She's like, I like to walk through the cemeteries and think about what were these people's lives like. And she said she gets some of her best ideas. So she definitely was
Mars,
outside.
Saturn, quiet, peaceful.
Yeah,
Some,
yeah.
yeah,
Mars
yeah.
Saturn also loves it's a death yoga in Vedic astrology. It's called the Yama yoga. So she definitely probably had some interest in death. And also the other thing is, she took care of her sick husband and she didn't live much longer than him. I think she like he was really her soulmate. So I think there's often people will exit after their beloved, if
Well,
they're
and
really
also see Mars, Saturn is she may not have felt when she was
very
younger, she may not have felt that she had control. And so when you're taking care of somebody who's so ill, like her husband, and you're
Mhm.
looking at her Mars Saturn, and you're also looking at Pluto roughly midpointing the Mars Saturn and her moon. Imagine Pluto at the midpoint between Mars Saturn and moon. So
Mhm.
there's a peculiar psychology of like you can never control things in your life, and now you've got things you totally control. You totally control your bank account and somebody in your life. And a lot of times we have some part of ourselves that seems crippled or sick. And so but it's a psychological emotional one. So we're always taking care of other people who have it externalized and easier to see. I mean, I'm leading into some very complicated psychology. The whole
But it's
goal, the whole
she really
goal is things happen to us that give us a sense of self and growth and knowing and learning and becoming golden with our radiance. And other things come into our life to make us more selfless and serve. And that we don't there's no room for ego. That the ego that gives us trouble is the ego that acts out of separateness. But the ego that acts out of a unifying principle, but then you can get carried away, like in Rudolf Steiner's cosmology, we get carried away with either forces that are growing us too fast and rushing to some kind of new excitement and learning and enlightenment. And we go too fast and we don't bring all of us with us. We don't bring all of our friends with us. We don't bring the garden. We don't have enough garden inside of our heart to bring a garden wherever we go. And there's another force that moves to contract us and unwind us and say time is up. There's a contractive force, centrifugal, centripetal, electromagnetic, and the planets all represent this electromagnetic expansion and contracting, harmonic and loosening force. That we're the middle. You and I are trying to find the middle way. The
yeah,
Christ is
but
crucified between the thief and
about
murderer.
that,
The Buddha
that
talked about the middle way.
Robert, say more about the Arianic because I feel like that's really a Rahu kind of energy. And this is a Rahu eclipse, by the way. And also, I just want to say that something very interesting with this whole thing with Dolly, looking at her chart, two things. One, I want you to talk about that, and I'll come back to the other point after. Let's finish
Well,
that first.
electricity, Armin is like the wrong use of electricity, which was discovered in the late 1800s with the Neptune-Pluto conjunction. Like we're experiencing with the Saturn, Neptune, midpointing Uranus, Pluto, we have all the outer planets, including Saturn, for a year or two. Like this year is a really rough year. Like next year, we won't have time this time, but I was prepared. Maybe I was prepared to talk about next year and the aspects that are not that exciting. It'd be more peaceful. But when you have Uranus on the midheaven, she's electrified. Dolly Parton is like electrified by this higher calling to music and publicity and the freedoms you can get when you're popular, have a good song and money. And Melania, the vice president, it's gonna is that a Freudian slip?
Freudian.
Melania, the vice president, the real where the vice all starts. No, I don't know. Maybe it's the virtue. She has
No, but
Uranus coming to hit her Mars in October for the second of three times, I think. I'm not looking at my notes, but Uranus. So you can see we're quickly coming into October too, and with all the aspects, the Uranus is the electrifying shock, like tomorrow like after midnight tonight is the full moon eclipse, and that Uranus midpoint is extremes in the weather and shocks and volcanoes and sudden eruptions and anger and
oh,
sudden
happened.
explosive and
Oh,
earthquakes and
seen
sudden
it.
change and a quick elevator that falls and you were at a high place and all of a sudden you look at the news, all these people that had a very high position and they're rich and they're the head of football teams or whatever they're doing, they're the head of corporations, and all of a sudden they take a fall and other people are just suddenly rising with new status in politics and assertiveness. I mean, that's what's happening. So electricity, Armin is the two forces of Rudolf Steiner are these loosening Luciferic forces. These are tough words because they're loaded with religious weirdness. So what it really is that the Luciferic and Ahrimanic forces are the forces that Luciferic is wants to keep you in a dream and never manifest. You're always imagining things that aren't real, or if they are real, they may not manifest till later or next life. And then and Lucifer wants to make the Luciferic spirits that you hear about in crazy people a little bit, is that is this idea of trying to be spiritual too quick and everything in the world's dirty and you're going to be spiritual and you're not going to look at the dirty people. Whereas Buddha looks at all the dirty people and Mother Teresa looks at all the dirty people, so-called dirty people. And who are blemished with non-virtue and difficult karma. And we're trying to find a rainbow between the dark and light. You know, the Rudolf Steiner said that the rainbow appears where dark and light meet. There'll be this dark storm, and the sun comes out, and when the sun and the dark meet, there's this rainbow of all the colors of the chakras and the planets. And so the planets are the intermediaries between the infinite seed potential of the stars and the event horizon. And Armin is the misuse of electricity, which, by the way, electricity, what is electricity? It's a spiritual being that's misplaced. And that spiritual being that's been misplaced finds its close and avenue of expression through discarded lower astral bodies, the doppelganger, the double, the deceiver. The when we die physically, but then we die to our desire and our fear. And it's what St. Paul in the Christian Bible refers to as the second death, which is very common. The triple birth and the triple death is very common in Hermetics, thrice greatest Hermes. See, when you're initiated, you're initiated in the spirit, soul, body. You're initiated into heaven, earth, and the lower worlds. And this is all revealed in your chart, where what pattern you're running and where you're stuck, because all the planets tell you where you're stuck, but it also tells you where you can get free. And uh, so that when you get initiated, you're free to operate in heaven, earth, and the underworld, which we call the underpants in America. And the unconscious is the lower third of your body. And by making the spirit, making the higher trinity of Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva, and universal mind and love and truth, transform our thinking, feeling, willing. Our soul awakens as a middle way, as above, so below, on earth as it is in heaven. The Christians stole this from the ancient Hermetics, as above, so below, which is the secret of astrology, that all the planets represent the higher and lower aspects that need to come together in the rainbow you, our rainbow you, honey. And so I have a song about that somewhere. I write songs. Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention, I do write a lot of songs about trying to put this idea into it. So the Araman, Rudolf Steiner says that Ahriman is a spiritual being that has an expression of electricity and electrifying, but also has an expression of truth that not really the truth that holds us all. It's just facts. So people believe in materialistic facts, but they don't have the animating spiritual soul principles of our many lifetimes and humanity as a whole and the spiritual teachings that animate us. We have a higher self that animates our body. And we wake up in the morning, we go, oh, I'm going to do this and this today. Or, oh, I wake up and it's back to the suffering. And we have to reimagine the future. We have to reimagine ourselves in the future. And
Or they
so
say
we don't need to have that
record an
reimagination
alarm,
happen.
or record an alarm, like so that when your alarm goes off, it's like your future self talking to you. That's one of the suggestions. If you have a hard time waking up in the morning, to reimagine your future, like your future self is telling you, hey, get up because you know what? This is where you want, this is your future self talking to you from your life in 2030, and you need to get up because you got to do blah, 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 so you can get to that goal of 2030 or
So
just some
unless you
future.
have silence and meditation, unless you have that first golden moment, that miracle happening where you can wake up, sit up straight, breathe, and just be really still and listen to this, try to listen to what's deeper than your dream, the spiritual thing that happened at sleep. And unless you have the spiritual one step removed from the automatism of Ahriman. Ahriman wants to make everybody a robot. He
Yeah,
wants to normalize
that's what I,
everybody, and that
that's what I
you're
want to
always the
talk about.
same, and your
That
face
is,
always looks the same, and you have an operation after operation to make yourself look the same all the time, and you're not going to grow old. I won't grow old. I'll never grow up. I'm Peter Pan. And um, there's
it's
another
true.
side that
The
wants to
AI
die.
stuff is
Some part of
really
us that wants to die. And that Lucifer Armin is the birth and death dilemma. And the Christ or the Christos of the Greeks or the Krishna used to be spelled with a C, but the Catholic Church wouldn't let anybody read for 1,000 years from 450 to 1400. And they changed it to C, the K. But there's a lot of Christos, Christos, Krishna, Christ. There, it's a solar spark in our virgin heart. The Virgin Mary, the Virgin Mother, the cosmic Buddha is the inner space within our heart. So you have to come to know this on yourself. In a lot of ways, the way I talk enters into an idea of poetics. But I love the idea that Shireen has that there's the magical dream of like communion with divine love and selfless learning and sharing. And we have to bring these together with an intellect that can pay your bills. And that's what I'm struggling with all the time is how to bring spiritual and material values. And you have to look at all the time to balance yourself out of the inner and outer, the higher and the lower, the right and the left, the spiritual and the
well,
material.
I want to just say, so I'm getting ready for in about 1 month, a little less than a month from now, I'm opening the Starry Labyrinth, which we're going to be doing a very deep dive into all these Jungian texts and the intersection between archetypal astrology and Jungian teachings. And so one of my favorite books, which Robert mentioned, which I think is so perfect for this eclipse, so key for this eclipse, is this Marion Woodman, Pregnant Virgin, which is definitely one of my textbooks in the course that we read. Um, and I just want to read this because I think this brings in the Dolly piece, because I know we're running out of time and I kind of want to tie a lot of these ideas together that you brought up. I think it brings in what you were saying about the Madonna horror complex that is part of that Virgo archetype. Um, and in Western astrology, she's got that Virgo rising, Virgo moon, just like Madonna, which I think is also very interesting. You know, they have the same thing. Madonna's chart that she tried to then debunk, but it is actually her true chart. The Virgo rising, Virgo moon chart. I think that's so interesting. Dolly and Madonna, similar, different, but similar, right? Um,
Yeah.
and so get this. I like to do a bibliomancy. So like we did when I was in your bookshop back in July. And I was like, let's see what we get. And guess what I opened up to? The Black Madonna. And here, listen to this. This is so beautiful. I think you'll love this, Robert, and everyone. So this is from Marion Woodman. She says, once the purging, because I think this is really capturing the eclipse, once the purging has taken place, the woman often dreams of a black goddess who becomes her bridge between spirit and body. As one aspect of Sophia, or Kali, is also a black goddess, such an image can open her to the mystery of life being enacted in her own body. The significance of what the Black Goddess symbolizes is recognized by many religions. In the ancient text entitled The Thunder Perfect Mind, her wisdom, encompassing unfathomable, is revealed. And she says, for I am the first and the last. I am the honored one and the scorned one. I am the whore and the holy one. I am the wife and the virgin. I am the mother and the daughter. I am the members of my mother. I am the silence that is incomprehensible, and the idea whose remembrance is frequent. I am the voice whose sound is manifold, and the word whose appearance is multiple. I am the utterance of my name. So, is that not this eclipse energy plus Dolly plus we also had these other passings too that I think
Madonna
captured.
like a virgin.
Yeah,
The
right. I mean,
Madonna like a virgin. So
that was
she's
her
totally,
first hit. Right, that was her first big hit.
yeah.
So,
So the Sophia,
very,
the divine feminine is the virgin whore thing is that it's all matter. We're connected to the whole universe, past, present, and future, the great matter, mother, mater. Matter is mother. And then the father principle is this oneness where there's no self looking at it, or there's a no self. And between the everything and nothing, time and space, is the birth of the mind, what I call the mind stream continuum, our right mind that is that works between spirit and matter. And yeah, the goddesses, like, there's Ein Sof in the Kabbalah, and then the whole tree of life is basically the goddess, the great mother. She rules over, she's the center of the six-pointed star of the interlaced triangles. Sophia is the wisdom that guides the angels. But it's in collusion and persuasive interaction with the solar spark. The
that
sun and the
reminds
moon. The sun and moon, basically, and we're trying to find the Earth is between the sun and moon, and we're trying to find that trinity. So yeah, that Sophia thing from the Nag Hammadi library that you read of Sophia is the most beautiful,
yeah,
thunderstruck. Like we spend hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, and all of a sudden we're suddenly hit by lightning. Uranus is the lightning. See, the lightning of Zeus,
yes,
Zeus throws the lightning down because the human beings on Earth aren't behaving correctly. And he's always saying, look, I'm going to destroy the Earth. They're going to wreck heaven. The people on the Earth are going to wreck the heavens, and I should just
yeah,
destroy them. And all the goddesses and the wife of Zeus or the girlfriend, whatever, whoever, all the goddesses are going, no, don't destroy the Earth. Don't destroy, because the mother principle is always forgiving. The father
yeah.
principle is forgiving because there is no self. If there's no self, but see, the no self is when you're meditating in stillness. But once you move, you're back into karma and you're back into the realm of the great mothers. And the mothers are Goethe goes down to visit the mothers. I mean, there's a whole experience of in Faust. There's a whole where Ahriman is Mephistopheles in that case. But Goethe visits the mothers, and at some point of our life, we have to go into the underworld and visit the original mother source of all forms. And it's a tripod of prophecy, a
That's what
trinity
I'm
of
doing. That's why I live here. That's what I'm doing in real life. I'm living with the mother. I've come to visit the goddess. I live with the goddess. But that's it. I mean, that's and people think, oh, you're living with the divine mother, but it is also you have to face your darkest fears, your shadow. You have to do some very
And we're blessing everything. We're blessing everything that happens, good or bad, as
one
part of
thing
the
that
process of
no,
our
and one thing
individuation.
the goddess says is that nothing is given for free. Like when you go and meet the mothers, or you go and meet the goddess, or like Faust going to meet the mothers in the underworld, nothing. There's always you pay a price. You have to be willing to do the deep work because she has a mission for you. She has a deep calling for you. So you have to be willing to take on that sacrifice. You have to be willing to do the deep soul work like Jung went through in the Black Book initiations, right? You can't go and talk to the soul or talk to the mothers without, there has to be an ego death there. There has to be a
And the
deep ego death.
triple goddess in the triple mothers or triple tripod of prophecy of ancient Greece in the Oracle of Delphi, it is the purified perception of thinking, feeling, willing, physical, emotional, mental. It's like what's mothering our soul, but also what's mothering our soul is the divine Sophia, the universal wisdom that like there's the wisdom compassion that guides our soul and from the higher point of view. And then there's the secret kundalini of the cave of the heart that the voice of the silence talks about. There's a triple, there's a triple flame.
What's the secret Kundalini? The
The
triple
heart,
flame.
the cave of the heart. There's a fire that descends from our higher self above. On the Christian terminology, Mary, the Virgin, goes in the middle between the 12 apostles. She's like in at the center, quiet between the apostles in the upper room, and the heavens descend with fire, and they get the good news and go around the world teaching people how to wake up. But there's a Kundalini that rises from below up, and that is over materialized as a volcano or anger. But when it's proper, the fire that rises from below is freedom fighters and heroic actions to help the poor, help the poor, help the poor. And it's the it's the mother principle that comes to the door that wants to give, some help. And there's a third fire that comes from the cave of the heart that unites the upper and lower fires, but also has a divine self of no self and no self that has a self. The heart is full and then empty and full and empty. From our heart, we have the ability to unite heaven and earth, and we have a sense of self and also a selflessness and a rhythm between the fullness and emptiness of our heart. The heart is the seat of the soul, but it's also the garden where we plant the seeds of divinity, and it's where we have to do most of our work. Is we're trying to unite the clear thinking and understanding of these things with an action, the higher and lower third of our body. And the heart is this unifying principle, but it's also a selfless listening. In the thing that I came up with by myself years ago, I've never seen it in print anywhere, but I'm sure it's true, and it must be somewhere in print from ancient India, Persia, Egypt, Chaldean, Babylonian, Atlantis. A lot of this goes back to the oracle of the sun of Atlantis, which was the purest oracle, that in Jupiter oracle, and the future of Venus that fell a little bit then is the oracle of the sun is the heart, the sun in the heart, and that the heart knows the way. I had a thought that just escaped me. Maybe it's not supposed to come out yet.
Okay, well, maybe
The
that's a
heart,
good
the
note.
word, the word heart spells earth. I mean, the heart is the middle way of Buddha, and it's where the Christ is crucified between the two, actually. So, but letting go of your breath and breathing in your heart. Oh, the heart's the third ear. That's what I was going to say. That I
Oh
came
yeah,
up with the idea that the heart, you have the single eye or the third eye, but the heart, if you let go of your breath and I empty my perceptions in my heart can hear your heart. The stillness of my heart can experience your stillness that's pure. And my heart can feel the war between opposites that we all struggle with. So the heart will give me room for compassion, but the stillness of the heart gives me that one step removed vantage point of a selfless perception that includes us all, and no one of us conquers. We all have to do it together. We're all in it together.
all
The
in it
Aquarian
together.
age is that
It's the
motif.
Aquarius.
The Aquarian age is that we're
North
all in
Node
it
is in
together.
Aquarius now. This is a North Node eclipse, and North Node is in Aquarius, even though it's a Pisces eclipse in Western. It's got a lot of Aquarian signatures because the North Node's going to be
And
hanging around.
Pluto's in Aquarius. And so it's the death of our old social identity and friendships and the rebirth. There's a lot of new friendships that are spiritual that are trying to happen, but the old self is preventing it. And so
Yeah,
This Uranus midpoint is people are done with suffering and they're done
yeah.
with wrong relationships. But unless we have an inner relationship with ourself, unless we make our soul our soulmate, the first mate on the ship,
The soul,
um,
make the soul the soulmate. I love that. Make the
yeah,
soul the.
unless we have a deep relationship with our stillness and our everything, then um, I mean, the Uranus is the shock that time is up for some people and they got to go now. You've done everything you can, and
You
so
can't
so
negotiate
many
with
people
that.
are. This last couple months, I've had more clients and people that come in the Mayflower Bookshop that I work out every day, and mostly, not almost every day. But this last 3 or 4 months, really a lot of people have all of a sudden been sick or dying or breaking up or realize their situation. It's okay. People pay a lot of money to go on spiritual retreat, and so all you have to do is retreat into your suffering or your bedroom or your closet. Like when I was young, I was the oldest of 12 kids. And at one point I had to move back to my parents' house after I moved out and I wasn't making it. And I was trying to meditate and there was still a lot of people living at my parents' house. And whenever you meditated, there was noise and distraction. And somebody would interrupt me all the time. And every time I meditate, I couldn't meditate. So I learned that it was really hot in the summer, and if I went into the front closet by the front door where all the winter coats are, nobody would go into that closet, and all the coats would block my ears. So I
Your
would go.
retreat.
I would go. So that's my retreat that I paid
Yeah.
attention instead of money. I had to pay attention instead of money, and so
Yeah.
I
So
went
maybe
in.
I should Yeah.
And I
I
went
used to
into
do that.
the, and all the coats blocked my ears, and I could just hear this muffled, Robert, where are you? And somebody trying to call me, of course, and I would just smile, thinking they'll never find me in the front closet.
We all need that place. Okay, it's 6:30 here. We got to wrap it up, but that was been so fast. Um,
And we're going to
and
do it next full moon, maybe.
yes,
And next
what
full moon is the
it's gonna be.
26th of September. So we'll be doing
Oh,
it probably the day before or whatever.
yeah, we
The,
could do
it's a Saturday on the 26th. So I don't know
Saturday's the
when
20.
you want it, but you'll hear about it.
Okay, we'll plan a date. We'll plan a date.
It's like at 12:49 p.m. So it's almost 1 p.m. on Saturday, the full moon. So we'll probably be doing, if we do it the day before the sun opposing Neptune, we'll probably have a 5 minute glitch or something. And I do astrology chart. I have a book, Astrological Aspects of the Art, where I go into the relationship of Tibetan Buddhism and Steiner and Psyche and Cupid and descent, the initiatory descent into the underworld by Psyche and Eros or Cupid, and
Yeah,
the reascent from the golden ass. I go into a
mhm.
lot of funny things, and I definitely need to rewrite it and think it out a little better, but I give you hundreds of ideas. And it's a cookbook with astrology aspects where you get ideas of what could happen natally or by prediction. And
Very cool.
I have a couple
I,
other
I
crazy
always
books.
recommend it. And for anybody who wants to go deeper into Jungian astrology and get certified, I'm starting my yearly, it's a 40-week course. It starts next month. And it's a deep dive. There's two ways you can work with me. One is very intense one-on-one, and there's a group aspect, very Aquarian. So there's two different, and then there's a hybrid where you can do a little bit of both too. But I'll put the link there. I'll put the link to Robert's website as well. And
So you have this hook up to the east and
uh,
west, and we have this collection together. What we're doing here, we're presenting to what we're trying to do is present all the different spiritual disciplines, and we have our particular focus. And if you're into psychology and you want a spiritual divine insight into it, you want to go to my friend here, and we have a combination of the East and the West, and we both studied both, so it's going to be fun.
yeah, yeah, exactly. I love that's our connection. It's beautiful. And then also, I want to also invite everyone. So December 27th, I'm doing a 12-day retreat. Speaking of retreats, in India, it's very intimate. There's only 5 rooms, five. I'm only doing with 5 people because it's a lot of like very intense one-on-one, and we're doing this very deep Ayurvedic, um, in the center of it, a very deep Ayurvedic treatment as part of the whole healing in South India, and then going to South Indian temples, and even visiting here. We're going to come here as a day trip to Amritapuri to meet the goddess Kali, and then to just experience the healing, all the Ayurvedic, the old healing of Kerala, because Ayurvedic has completely changed my life, and it literally takes so much like so much chronic uh pro you know illness that people struggle with. It can just, and a lot of that's karmic. It can just really do wonders. They say like every time you do a treatment, like a punch, they call it panchakarma. It's like you're removing 5 layers of, or 5 lifetimes of things that the body is taking on for you, karmically. So it's quite profound. Oh, thanks, Cassandra. It's so nice to
And
see
the
you.
way
Yeah,
that I approach that is through macrobiotics. I studied with Misho Kushi,
right.
Zen
Yeah.
macrobiotics, and
You
Dr. Ash
had
and
a macrobiotic,
psychic
you had
healing.
a macrobiotic cafe for a while. And my
Yeah, I had a
old,
macrobiotic cafe. A
Edwin
lot of
Steinberg.
people claim they were healed from macrobiotics. They healed themselves. So I approach it like that. And even though I have a lot of
You still
knowledge about some of the things that Shireen talks about, I also, what I specialize in is how to adjust through astrology, intuitive perception, and theosophical, anthroposophical approach to healing, how you can adjust your soul and awaken your mind stream continuum to work with spirit, soul, body, and to work with whatever. Like Trungpa's thing was wherever the suffering is, the most immediate thing that you're struggling with, that's the first step in alchemy. That's the first matter that we deal with. And in some kind of putting a synthesis of all these spiritual disciplines of East and West, and Hermetics and Neoplatonism and Theosophy and Steiner and Osho, and Tibetan Buddhism has their own approach to medicine. I try to approach it from that point of view, but also my first spiritual teacher said, I want you to get enlightenment if it kills you. So being healed is good, but unless you heal the divine way that Shireen talked about, unless you heal inside out, you might have an outer healing, but the inner self is still a pirate
Yeah. Yeah.
of
Yeah.
of the Lady of Shalott, and you're not sure if you're chained to the shore or you're about to let go of the chain. Uranus, this aspect is letting go of the chain and looking for higher knowledge that can replace the crude suffering. So we've got a lot to offer, and
Right.
there's no reason, there's no excuse you can't get enlightened. There's no, I mean, part of what we're doing is we're offering that there's no
We're all
excuse that
like,
you
yeah.
can't get enlightened. There's no more
Well,
excuse for you to suffer ignorantly.
thanks,
Well, I'm
Robert.
looking for new suffering. You might be like, you're looking for a new way to suffer. I'm tired of the old way,
We
but
need
we
new ways
want
of suffering, exactly. New ways, more creative ways to suffer. I'm all for that.
right suffering that brings enlightenment and freedom.
Speaking of,
And
I got
I think there is a way to get enlightened through bliss and happiness by being
definitely.
creative with the totality of the world situation. That if they're really participating with the future evolution of the earth and the wholeness of the planet, if we've really awakened the interaction participatoriness with the whole of our life and the whole of the planet and the future destiny of the planet, we will be kind of busy to pay too much attention to our personal suffering.
Sounds good. All right. On that note, I
Ours
have to
is
go.
not to know why,
We gotta go. We gotta
ours is
go.
not to know, ours is not to know why this or that captures us.
Yeah.
But real life makes no reply.
I
It
really
enraptures us.
love you, Robert. I really have to go. To be continued. To be continued.
Peace, to be continued.
All
Unending
right.
story.
All right. Okay. Never ending story.
Omani Padme Hum.
Everybody. Om Namah Shivaya.